After an election that seemed to reveal a big gap between the American press and the public it tries to serve, where is the direction forward? How does the press rebuild confidence and trust among voters who seem to have little of either? And a topic from last week's program gets even hotter. Warren Mayor Jim Fouts is here for his turn on the dirt at Freedom Hill. Today is Sunday, November 27, 2016, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. I hope your Thanksgiving holiday has been one filled with reasons for giving thanks. Coming up this morning, a conversation I've been wanting to host since before the first votes were ever cast in the election. It became clear to me months ago that the American press was in a crisis. As a journalist, it probably won't surprise you to learn that I firmly believe that an active and honest press is a critically important component of a functioning democracy. Yes, journalism is a business, but there's a reason why it is the only business mentioned in the Constitution. But if the American electorate stops believing in what we report, refuses to believe us when we point out a lie or a falsehood, then what are we to do? There are those who believe the American media moves in lockstep with some kind of agenda. I can only say that if we were that organized, then maybe at our next meeting we could put together a code of conduct for fixing this crisis. But there are no meetings, no chance at reaching a consensus or as a group examining our behavior. I can get a very small gathering together, however, to discuss it, and that's what we'll do this morning. And then last week's interview with Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel was unfortunately taped before new findings from the DEQ were released on the troubles at Freedom Hill. Warren Mayor Jim Fouts did not like what he heard. He's here this morning too. It's all today on Flashpoint. Well, in a season where many feared calm, rational conversation around the table might be impossible, let's give it a go this morning on a topic that is, no doubt, the passion of all of my guests, myself included, the way forward for the American press. Join me to talk about it, former political writer for Atlantic Monthly, now associate publisher of Crane's Detroit Business, Ron Fournier back with us, columnist for the Detroit Free Press, Rochelle Riley with us again. My former colleague here at Local 4, he's taught journalism at Oakland University, and a reporter I admire deeply, Roger Weber is with us this morning, and the editorial page editor for the Detroit News, Nolan Finley. And Nolan, let me start with you because months ago...
I didn't bring the cranberries.
Not to this morning. Is there any left over? Months ago, when I told you that this was a conversation that I thought we were all going to have after the election, you said, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
You saw the same crisis that I do. How do we get out of the fix that we're in?
Well, I think we have to get back to journalistic basics. You know, I think it's harder today to be perceived as an unbiased purveyor of news because people perceive bias in everything they don't agree with. And so I think but I think in the case of this election, our credibility, our trust was hurt as much as anyone else's by these WikiLeaks. It revealed too much collusion between the press and the campaigns, too many reporters, too many media organizations slanting their coverage, it seemed. Getting too chummy is a good word. And I think that does create a sense of distrust among our readers and viewers, and rightfully so.
Roger, I found myself wondering if you really enjoyed sitting this one out, or if this was one that you would have relished covering, but it was one for the books.
Well, I used to make my living talking on television, and in the campaign I was talking at the television quite a bit. Certainly the Republican debates, the questions were often way over the top. What was it, the circus campaign, the clown campaign for Trump?
John Harwood asked Donald Trump, are you running a comic book campaign?
Right, and Cruz said this isn't a cage match, and he got quite a bit of a reaction to that. I think I also saw zingers from reporters that were really not necessary. I also saw reporters posting their personal beliefs on Facebook. Drives me crazy. You don't do that, but in this campaign they did.
Yeah, Rochelle, you're on that. Your business is opinion, and your Facebook page and your postings on Twitter have been very, I would say, aggressively anti-Trump. Are you comfortable with that, or is that now? Are you rethinking the way you have to go forward?
Well, I'm glad you started with that question because I can take this opportunity to apologize to readers, and let me do that here, and let me do that at this camera. Mostly because when someone is running for president of the United States, even if they're a reality star and someone who literally is driving you nuts, you still have to take it seriously. And I don't think this was elitist. I don't think this was reporters getting together in the bar and deciding which zingers to do. I think we really did not take him seriously and thought that everybody saw this. And unfortunately, it took us a little while to get to people who were taking him seriously and did not care. I called it the drunk uncle syndrome, and you love him, so this is not another zinger. But, you know, somebody who, they say stupid stuff and you think, oh my God, here he comes. But you love them anyway because of what they might be able to do for you. And there are people who believe that Donald Trump can do things for them.
Yeah.
And whether he does or not, you know, we have to wait to be seen. I do think that a lot of these people are going to be very disappointed. Some of them already are, because he's decided not to pursue any type of action, well, as if he could do it himself, against Hillary Clinton. But I think they're going to realize that he's just not that into them. But until they do, we owe them at least an honest assessment.
Interesting. Ron, the line that I've used for a while is that, you know, the media kind of created Donald Trump and then he outgrew the lab. Our fascination with his ability to say that, throw out the zinger, to, you know, start characterizing things in headline-grabbing ways, we just couldn't stay away from it early on.
I don't know if it was a fascination as much as corporatization. I think the internet has done two things that we have to be aware of. One, it has destroyed the media business model. So now we have far fewer reporters than we used to, and there's a much higher percentage of those reporters who, because of the business model, are being pressured to wake up every day writing and reciting Republican talking points, or waking up every day writing and reciting Democratic talking points. There's fewer reporters who are trying to be objective. And so therefore, for all the things you've been talking about, we've been slowly over 30 years eroding our trust. The other thing the internet has done is created a wild, wild west of information. Now all of us, 300 million of us, can get up every day and decide we're going to live our lives only reading and seeing, hearing information that confirms our biases. Right. And too many Americans now do that. Oh, yeah. And to your point, they see something that is critical of their guy, well, that must be biased reporting. And I hate the media. And then the other side is doing the exact same thing. We have two parties right now who spent this last cycle delegitimizing the media, because the Democrats didn't want anybody criticizing Hillary and the Republicans didn't want anybody criticizing Trump, while the media was delegitimizing itself, chasing cash and clicks.
In fact, that's part of the crisis to which I refer, Nolan, because both candidates found a way to run around the media.
They did.
Donald Trump has 22 million followers on Twitter, so what was a sit down with a reporter to him? And Hillary Clinton, I don't even remember the last time that she had a news conference. Right. She decided that wasn't the place for her.
You know, he's using YouTube videos to get his message out. It's these candidates are getting very adept at exploiting the technology and using the technology. I remember when John Edwards was running for president, and he established his own news sites on the internet. You couldn't clearly connect him to him, but he established his own news sites. And so we're becoming less and less the intermediary between the candidates and the public, and so there's less of a filter. In a way, that's good. Candidates can get their message directly out, but also they can hide the things better they want to hide in some cases.
Yeah, and they no longer have to answer the tough question.
Right.
Is that what voters really want? Do they simply want to be reinforced with what they already believe? Do they want someone who is tweeting or putting out videos or press releases? That give and take between a reporter and a politician is a very healthy thing. I think it's served us well, as long as we are fair in our coverage.
Yeah, I've always thought that a wise way to consume journalism was to get it from a cafeteria, lots of different places, a little Rush Limbaugh, a little NPR, everywhere. But I think to the point we're hearing here, Rochelle, everybody right now retreats to their silo. You're only being surrounded by what we agree with.
Well, here's what happened, and this speaks to Ron's point. Everyone is now encouraged to be an entertainer, and unfortunately, and I'm glad you mentioned the difference between—
We're amusing ourselves to death.
Yes, columnists and reporters. As a columnist, I'm supposed to have an opinion. It's okay for me to do those things, but it's not okay for me to do them to the point where I'm not also providing that service. But it's worse when you have reporters who are doing that and bias is seeping into their stories, and all of a sudden you see a lead that is not, you know, here's what someone said and this is what it could mean, but well, here's what someone said and it's a clown, you know, attitude. I think that people sort of lost their way. And you know, if you're in the cafeteria, yeah, there's the dessert and there's the other stuff, but there were always vegetables. So, you know, we used to be the vegetables. Now people can't tell the difference and they'd rather just pick what they want.
Yeah. quickly, go ahead. I got to get to a break. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, tell you what. Yeah, I'll
Make some money. And then
Ron, yes. Thanks for pointing that part out. Yes, we'll do a little business, and then we'll get back to journalism. This is Flashpoint on Local 4. Ron's first, when we come right back.
I do have a pension.
Celebrate life's special moments this holiday season at Ahee Jewelers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Every day you inspire us to move forward, to stay on our toes, to do more, better. As the health insurer chosen by more people in Michigan for over 75 years, we're constantly rethinking what we do to protect what's important in your ever-changing lives. So keep on keeping on. We'll be right there with a plan that's right for you, just like we've always been. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Confidence comes with every card.
Time is running out during the Black Friday sales event going on now, only at Dick Scott Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Right now, lease the 2016 Dodge Journey RT with all-wheel drive for $98 a month, or take home the 2016 Chrysler 300 with all-wheel drive for $143 a month, only at Dick Scott Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plymouth.
When you buy a Dodge from Dick Scott.
My kids never liked hearing the word no. So Social Security has said no to you. Call my son, Mike Morse.
Most claims are turned down the first time, and I don't take no for an answer. Call me and let's make them say yes. 855 Mike wins.
All right, welcome back to Flashpoint. Our discussion this morning, the way forward for the American press. Ron, you were waiting patiently.
Two things. One, return to our core mission and then adapt. The core mission is to provide people information, provocative information that provokes new thought or new action, and information that they wouldn't have found out if we hadn't been there before, and to be the watchdog, to be the folks who are holding powerful people accountable. But we have to adapt in how we do that. One example, Donald Trump, unforgivably, never released his tax returns. So what did we do? The old-fashioned way, we all wrote editorials saying return them. We wrote columns saying that they should return them. We wrote news stories saying how he's breaking precedent. Why didn't the TV networks? It would have only taken one TV network, but certainly 3 of them. If they had said, we are not going to give Donald Trump any more coverage until he releases his tax records. Now, I know that's kind of out there, but what if the media used its power to serve the people and saying, we are not going to give somebody coverage unless they are going to be transparent with the people who we serve, which is supposed to be the readers.
I think we'd be
that kind of
digging
adapting,
a deeper hole, I think. If
because where does that end? I mean, where do you stop drawing that line?
we don't stop drawing the line until we get the information that the public deserves, no matter who the candidate is.
But aren't you showing us some of the disconnect between your concerns and the millions of people who voted for Donald Trump? They didn't care. As they also didn't care about what I keep referring to as we've entered a post-truth world, where we would fact check or truth tell something that Donald Trump had said, and it didn't matter.
It's a very good point. Look, I tried really hard to separate out the way I criticized Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and the respect that I gave to their voters. I understand why people voted for Hillary Clinton. I understand and empathize and really understand why people voted for Donald Trump at a time of change. But our purpose is to hold these folks accountable, and we have to adapt. As they're adapting to get around us, we have to adapt, which is why I'm starting to look at things like, let's use the little leverage we have, free media, to get for the people that we're supposed to be serving the information they need, even if they don't like the way we're doing it.
It's an interesting thought, but Roger, as far as drilling down, digging a deeper hole, it is amazing to me how vilified now the American media is as a whole. We seem more hated than Congress at the moment. I suppose
that's a lot of hate.
But that was part of Donald Trump's success.
Exactly.
He joined them in their hatred of the media, and that moved him forward.
I think at one point he said, I'm not campaigning against crooked Hillary, I'm campaigning against the crooked media.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty amazing that we have gone to this point. Remember also that a lot of the bias complaints are from people who want to use the media as a scapegoat, frankly. That's out there too, and I think people have to do their own soul searching. Why are you so mad about what was said? Is it because it doesn't parrot what a commentator said who does reflect your point of view, whereas If you're a journalist, you're going to say things, hopefully, that offend both sides.
And you and I come from the reporting world where, in fact, I never once saw you betray a political opinion. I never saw evidence of that ever in your reporting. And yet, Nolan, we've gotten to where we have, in fact, the Fox News network was largely created out of Roger Ailes saying, we can't possibly be expected to keep our opinions to ourselves, so we're going to tell you what our opinion is at the outset. I'm not sure, I'm not sure that's a healthy thing. Well, because I think you still can be Switzerland in reporting.
But find that on television today. Find that amongst the cable news channels. That's the primary news source, one of the primary news sources for most Americans. And you're not seeing any of them play this straight down the line the way the networks did when you were coming up in Roger. But one of the things I saw in this election, it really bothered me, and I hadn't seen it before, was so much of the media seemed to have a sense of mission in this, that they found Trump so reprehensible that they had a responsibility to help defeat them. And I think when we cross that line, we invite the mistrust that we're receiving.
That's a tough one, Rochelle, because when you look at 98% of the editorial pages in America supporting one candidate, I suppose the way that looked at Donald Trump's supporters was that fed into the narrative that, well, that's just the liberal media. I suppose some in the media, some of those people like yourself writing those pieces would say, look, we're the ones that cover this all day, every day. We're the ones that know. And yet, there's the disconnect.
I think, again, we needed to have spent more time talking sooner to the people who are so disenfranchised and so upset and so worried about that. We did not give them their due. And had we done that and sort of balanced some of that out, it might not have been so bad. People will still vilify us. People are going to always vilify the media. They've done that a lot. I think the only way we're going to come through this is to do what Ron suggested, get back to the basics, write about the policy, and not, I mean, I would love to turn on a newscast, which I am not doing so much these days, not just because I'm on vacation, and not see that the first story is Donald Trump said. I would just like to see, this is the policy, this is what's affecting all Americans, and this is what Donald Trump is doing about it, this is what other people are talking about, and here's where we are on the economy. We've got to be more analytical and be smarter.
Ron, I'll let you have the last thought here. A couple people have pointed out that the media took Donald Trump literally but not seriously. Voters took him seriously but not literally.
Yes, Selena Zito, a wonderful reporter with a Pittsburgh newspaper, came up with that. And I agree. I tried. You're going to have a hard time going back and finding a columnist who was more critical of Hillary Clinton and more critical of Donald Trump than I was, and who worked really hard. And it was in the state. I spent last summer in the state before I moved back, and I talked to more and more people who I start calling crazy butts. People who I don't think are bigoted or stupid, who would say, I know that Donald Trump is crazy, but he's ticking off you guys in the media. I know he's crazy, but he's ticking off those Republicans and Democrats. I know he's crazy, but he can't be worse than what we have now. That's what happened.
Just the first couple of steps on what's going to be a long walk forward for the American press, but I really appreciate the conversation this morning. Thank you all. Warren Mayor Jim Fouts taking issue with what he heard on this program last week. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
Thank you for helping us give our children a leg up on earning college credit.
For helping to support more than 70,000 students annually.
For supporting cultural exchange programs.
Thank you for participating in our community councils.
For supporting free education opportunities for seniors.
For supporting early childhood development programs.
For supporting our millage and our mission.
Thank you for making WCCCD a part of your lives.
Because sometimes you just need a bigger mattress. Sunday and Monday at Gardner White, you can supersize for free. Every factory has authorized us to give you a king mattress for a queen price with no tax. You get Black Friday discounts, plus get a free king size upgrade on top of the steel prices. That's an extra $800 in your pocket. Choose a premium king set, now just $999. With no tax, a free box spring and TV, and free same-day delivery. Get 5 years interest-free and a free Target gift card. Don't overpay. Supersize free with no tax. Sunday and Monday, only at Gardner White.
Jaguar introduces our new generation of vehicles, built from lightweight aluminium to enhance performance, connected like never before with the latest technology. We do love it when a plan comes together.
Lease the all-new 2017 XE for only $399 a month with zero do-it signing and elite care coverage at the Unwrap a Jaguar sales event at Jaguar of Troy and Jaguar Lakeside in Macomb.
Monday,
The Apollo 11 mission is at risk on an all-new Timeless at 10. Then, at 11, it's a crime that's many times hidden behind closed doors. A crime that's hard to spot.
The most dangerous time for a woman is when she's leaving that relationship.
Now, local police have a tool that can help get victims of domestic violence help before it's too late.
I want to try to break that cycle.
Clients are saying, "You've saved my life."
Defender Karen Drew investigates, Monday at 11 on Local 4 News.
Welcome back. Last week's program included a conversation with Macomb County Executive Mark Hackel, and part of that conversation was about the landfill problems at Freedom Hill. It was a clumsy piece of timing, I admit that. Statements were released by the DEQ on the matter, which we had reported on our newscast, but they came after the conversation for Flashpoint was taped, and Hackel was unable to come back to retape the segment. Now, he did tell me he didn't think his answers would change in light of the DEQ report. Those answers did not sit well with the man who first brought the problem to public light on Facebook, and that's Warren Mayor Jim Fouts, who's here this morning. Mayor Fouts, thank you very much.
Thank you, Devin. I'm very proud to be on today.
Well, let's talk about, let's start with your post, which some people felt that you were kind of creating. In fact, I think Mark Hackel's words were hysteria, because it was cryptic. You didn't exactly say what you knew was going on, but you said that we might have a mini Flint situation.
Number one, I
never
said the word water whatsoever. I was alluding to this cover-up of illegal dumping at Freedom Hill. I never got into anything. Mark did leave me a message at 5:30 in the morning to say that he threatened me. He said, "You're going to regret this if you don't get back with me." He never mentioned the word water or anything like that. I never mentioned it. And if there was a panic started, it was because Mark Hackel started it, and that was because I posted at 11, and I don't know who called him up. I take calls every day. I return calls, and at night I visit people. I take calls on the weekend. He does not do so. Not only that, I've called him up about various issues, and he hasn't got back with me. But the issue has nothing to do with water. What the issue has to...
When you said mini Flint, though, wasn't it hard for some people to not think it had something to do with water?
Mini Flint is a cover-up. That's what I'm talking about. There was a cover-up of illegal dumping at Freedom Hill. It's been borne out that I'm right on that. Let me stop a minute and just make a personal plea to Attorney General Bill Schuette. Attorney General Bill Schuette, I want you to investigate the illegal dumping at Freedom Hill. The public has a right to know. My taxpayers have a right to know, and so does Sterling Heights citizen, regarding illegal dumping. And by the way, I'm proud to say that if I hadn't raised questions about that on Wednesday night, and I took a lot of heat for it, they would not be cleaning it up today. We have leaking leachate. We have methane gas leaking. We have a serious situation at Freedom Hill that still is not completely rectified.
You still believe that there are health concerns there then today?
Yes.
Because Mark Hackel and others...
Mark Hackel is basically what Mark Hackel is doing. He's deflecting. He tried to deflect the subject. He tried to make me the scapegoat. He tried to shoot the messenger. But the fact is that Mark Hackel has covered up an illegal dumping at Freedom Hill. And let me add this. They did not get the approval from the Department of Environmental Quality. They did not get the approval from the SMDA. And I guarantee you this, no engineer in the state would approve dumping of 150,000 yards of excavated dirt on top of a closed landfill. Nobody would have done that. And let me ask you just a simple question, okay? If you were the excavator, or if you were Mark Hackel or the mayor of Sterling Heights, and you told this excavator to plow over all of this material, shouldn't someone have said, wait a minute, we're plowing over 100 and some methane gas pipes. Now,
which gets to the crux of the issue, because
but they plowed over all of these things.
Understood, and
now they've created a problem.
And now these vents have been destroyed in some cases, and so
well, shouldn't somebody have asked a question?
But this gets to the heart of the matter. What you're calling a cover-up, I think the other side is calling a mistake.
No, it's not a mistake.
It was self-reported at the SMDH meeting.
No, that's a lie. They did not self-report it. I disagree with that. I checked on it.
That's what Mark Hackel says.
Mark Hackel is not being honest, okay? And that's why Mark Hackel can no longer be objective about this. And by the way, what's interesting, last week when Mark Hackel was trying to deflect the issue, when he was trying to make me the scapegoat, when he was trying to shoot the messenger, he was all over. And by the way, when he gave that press conference at 11:30 or 11 o'clock. At 8:30, he had a meeting with the DEQ and the engineer, Roy Rose. I've got a copy of the report today. He knew there was leaking leachate. He knew there was methane gas being leaked. And at that press conference, he never mentioned it. You're a journalist. Shouldn't he have mentioned that we have leaking leachate? We plowed over trees that prevent the leachate from leaking out. We have methane gas, and the methane gas is traveling all the way to a baseball field near a large church. And I talked to the DEQ as short as the day before yesterday, and the DEQ guy on site, Greg Barrows, said, Mr. Mayor, we have to keep continuous monitoring of this because the methane gas is at the baseball field and it's heading toward the church. And if it gets to the church, we're going to have a real disaster. And the leachate is less than 20 feet. Let me give you an example. Yesterday,
we're getting into the
I know,
weeds on some
but
of the
yesterday
particulars here.
I talked to Roy Rose, and he said they were trying to cover up one leachate hole, and guess what? They tried to cover it up, and 2 other holes popped up. This is going to be a 3-year deal. It's going to take 8 months to a year to clean this up, and there's still a danger of the leachate leaking to Red Run.
You believe there are environmental health dangers in place today for the residents around
There are, well, right now, the leachate is leaking. It hasn't got to Red Run, but it's within 20 feet. And I told you yesterday, I've got proof here, I'll show you. They were trying to cover up a leachate hole, and in the process, 2 more holes popped up. They have a problem. And if that leachate in great quantity reaches to Red Run, then it goes into the Clinton River, it goes into Lake St. Clair, and yes, then you have a water problem. But I want the Attorney General, Bill Schuette, to investigate this.
Understood.
I want him to have an
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. I knew we would run out of time because it's a very complex matter, and most of us are not up to speed on landfill requirements. But the difference of opinion between what some would say is a mistake, you're convinced is a cover-up.
Well, the DEQ, all of the engineers and environmentalists have said you have leaking leachate and you have methane gas going toward a church facility, and you have dangers to both residents and potentially to the water if they don't stop this leak, and it's going to take them at least 8 months.
I appreciate you coming in.
Okay, Attorney General Bill Schuette, please investigate this.
That's going to do it for Flashpoint this morning. Meet the Press is coming up next. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Thank you.